Good morning and afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Mastering Dovetail HR Copilot, Optimizing AI Workflows and Enhancing User Experience. My name is Kane, and I am the Chief Customer Champion, or today I am your Chief Flight Instructor for this Copilot webinar. I'm thrilled to have you all join me as we dive into this transformative capabilities of Dovetail HR Copilot. Today's session is designed to provide you with an in-depth understanding of how Dovetail HR Copilot can revolutionize your HR service delivery. We are covering 5 key areas: AI workflows, integrations, GenAI large language models, employee and manager experience, and then Microsoft Teams experience. We'll also share practical tips, real-world examples, and best practices to help you effectively leverage Dovetail HR Copilot across your organization. Whether you're new to the platform or looking to enhance your existing usage, this webinar is going to equip you with the knowledge and tools needed to drive transformation in HR service delivery. This is a deep dive webinar. We will be showing you configurations and the end result, almost to the level of a training webinar. You're in for a lucky treat. Be sure to stay until the end for the Q&A session, where we'll address any questions and provide further insights. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I just want to give you a bit of an overview on Dovetail software. So we're a leading provider of HR service delivery software. We provide different modules, so HR case management, employee relations case management, employee portal, and Dovetail HR Copilot, knowledge management, and HR reporting and analytics. Today, we're focusing on the Dovetail HR Copilot. It is a platform-independent product, so whether you're a customer of Dovetail or not, you could be a customer just of HR Copilot, and you're going to learn about that today. We've been recognized 3 years in a row by an independent survey conducted by Sapient Insights as the leader in our space for HR service delivery. Very proud of that. Dovetail also provides, as I mentioned, those different modules, and this is really the expanse of our modules here. So you can see on the screen, focused on the employee experience, the HR experience, and we're going to today cover the HR Copilot, which is just one of those bullets on the employee experience side today. Here's what we're going to cover in our workshop demo today. So we're going to look at the administrative side of Copilot, creating AI workflows, integrating with third-party systems, and looking at the generative AI large language models. We're also going to look at the employee-facing side. So how does an employee interact with Copilot? What about a manager? What about a HR individual? Using things like the employee chat interface in the employee portal, or MS Teams desktop, or MS Teams mobile. Now, just so you know, again, this product that I'm going to show you doesn't have to just sit in those applications I've mentioned. It could be sitting in Slack, it could be sitting on SharePoint, it could be on any sort of intranet technology that you have. Just before we get started, just to give you, what is Copilot? So Copilot is an AI-powered assistant designed to enhance user efficiency. I personally like to think of it a bit like when an airplane is being flown and you have a captain and you have a co-pilot. The co-pilot is assisting with those activities. They're helping navigate. They might be landing, might be taking off, etc. But they're assisting the captain do their work for that journey. Same for generative AI. Now, this is a term that's been around a lot, but what does it actually mean? So Gen AI or generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that generates new content by learning existing content. So in our example, and what we're going to show today is you can take large volumes of data, things like employee handbooks, policies, and so on, web pages, and have the Copilot system index that data so that when someone asks the question, they're not having to read all of that content. The generative AI piece is generating the content from the existing content, a much smaller snippet. So just before we start, I wanted to run a survey here to see how many people knew about Copilot and generative AI. So I've run that survey, fill that in. I'll leave it up for a few moments so that there's 5 questions, I think. So the first one is, did you know what Copilot was as it relates to AI? Had you heard the term? Did you know what Gen AI was, for example? Do you use a Copilot within HR today? Do your employees have access to a HR Copilot today? And do you have plans to launch a new AI Copilot or Gen AI bot within the next 12 months? give you a few moments just to finish that out. We've got 60% participating, 62%. Okay, I'm going to move ahead. We have got a busy schedule, so I'm going to move ahead. In detail, what we're going to go through is these AI intents. So redirecting someone to a vacation policy, redirecting someone to a third-party website, integrating with data from Dovetail, using SMS to send messages or one-time passwords, integrating with other third-party systems like Dayforce. It could be Workday, SAP, Oracle, ServiceNow, Remedy, etc. We're also going to look at the GenAI. So how you can upload documents and how the GenAI system indexes those documents. Same with website scraping, and then the Dovetail knowledge base as well. You can also connect to SharePoint. We're not going to show that in today's demo. It's going to be a future one, but you'll see that in some parts of this session today. And then we'll also look at the case view. So if you connect Dovetail Copilot to the Dovetail HR case management system, what it will do is when a conversation ends, it will create a case for that record, and it can auto close that case. And then you've got a record of it. You can do metrics on that. How many times did AI bot answer the question, and so on. So we'll cover that as well. So let's head over to the demo. So first things I want to do first is just remind everybody what are we talking about when we say HR Copilot, rather than jumping straight into configuration. What is the end result? So I've got a few examples. This is all coming from our employee portal product. So this is the Dovetail employee portal. You can see at the top HR Copilot. When someone clicks on that, you can any question they like, and they could have different responses. It could be coming from intents, which we'll cover in a moment. It could be generative AI generated content. Again, we'll cover that. It could just be that it doesn't know the answer, or maybe it passes them over to a live agent. I just want to also stop and just say, any questions, put them into the chat or into the Q&A section section of the chat, and we'll cover those towards the end. So you can see here, I just said, hey, I'm looking for the benefits page, and it offered me two options. I selected benefits page. It's taken me straight to the benefits page. Another example, looking for an employee verification letter. And really, when you're thinking about designing and rolling out AI bots in your organization, you've got to think, what are the most common questions employees, managers, HR people are going to the intranet site or calling HR to ask us all the time? Employee verification is a common question. So here's an example of Copilot serving up their self-serving someone's employee verification letter. They can then print, download it, send it off to their finance company or whoever they're trying to prove they work for your organization. This is generative AI coming up now. So I've asked a question about parental leave policy, and I'm going to show you what that parental leave policy looks like. It's quite a large page, a lot of content. Many people aren't going to sit there and read all of this. They've got jobs to do, right? You've hired them to do a job. They're not going to sit there and read this policy, but the Gen AI piece can generate a small snippet and make it a lot easier for the individual to consume. Here's an example of us going into Dayforce. So I'm asking, what's my vacation allowance? It's using Dayforce's APIs to connect and go grab someone's balance and put it on the screen there. And then here's the SMS one. So, hey, I'm trying to get hold of my manager. Can't seem to find his contact details. So Copilot prints out the contact details, getting this from the Dovetail system, and then even offers up a nice sort of experience and says, hey, would you like me to text them for you? Let them know that you're trying to get hold of them. Sure. So I've said yes, and you can see in our real-time sort of SMS text here, that's the message that her manager got. And then just to sort of show you, how does this look from an MS Teams point of view and from a mobile point of view? We'll just quickly show this. Again, this is really just to set the scene, because most of this session is going to be about how we build these in Copilot. So I want you all to at least see from the very start, what does the end result look like? So everyone's got an idea going in. So with MS Teams, you've got these buttons that come up. So I'm going to ask the same questions basically. So you can see there now, the individual has asked, there's two areas that you could go to. I've selected benefits page, and it's taken me over to the benefits page. Just remember that benefits page could be in SharePoint, could be on your intranet. Maybe it's a document that you want them to download. It doesn't have to be the Dovetail portal. It can go to any page, and we're going to show you how you build that and what that looks like. And again, now here's a mobile look and feel. So I'm using Teams here. I've got the dark mode on. So again, the same thing. I've asked, hey, trying to contact my manager. How do I do that? And there it is. It sent the text over to my manager. It's also provided me their contact details as well. So great way, sort of initial sort of orientation to get into the orientation of the Dovetail Copilot system. So I'm logged in as an administrator, someone that can add new workflows, do large language model uploads, things like that. First thing here is the playground. The playground, and I'm just gonna do a whistle stop tour of the UI before we get into actually building our first workflow. So the playground is where you would test out your workflows, your intents, the large language model. Templates allow you to build things and reuse them across your different workspaces. So you might have a production bot, a test bot, you might have a German bot, an Italian bot, etc. The large language model sources, we're going to dive into those at the top there later on in this session and show you how you can upload documents, how you can index the Dovetail knowledge base, how you can scrape sites if you've got a public facing site you want to scrape, like your corporate website, for example. The intents is where you create those sort of questions that you want a definitive response. Where do I find this? Oh, here it is. Where's my payslip? Here's your payslip. And then finally, the workflow editor. It's a drag and drop workflow editor. It allows you to build these workflows, connect them to intents, and then ultimately publish them out to whether it's SharePoint, whether it's Teams, whether it's our Dovetail Copilot UI, etc. So we're going to get into the very first one. The first one here is redirecting to a vacation policy. As I mentioned, this is a real webinar around configuration now. So I'm going to walk you through the whole step-by-step process of creating several different sort of intents and showing you how you can design those very easily and very quickly. And this is all real. Was put in the theme of that intent. So where is the vacation policy? Copilot automatically creates all of the phrases that someone might ask that's similar or trying to find the answer of where is that vacation policy. You don't have to build those. It does that for you. Next, I need to go build a workflow to link this to. So I've gone over to the workflow editor. I'll click on add a new workflow, and I'm going to call it vacation policy. The vacation policy workflow, when you add a new one, it gives you two nodes. These are the nodes that are moving around. You can zoom in and out of that workspace. And then you've got the toolkit on the left where you can drag different nodes on. I'm going to drag a very basic one called agent response and then connect those nodes. Each of these nodes, when you click on them, you open up more properties. For the agent response, you can add components like text, links, images, documents, etc. In this example, I'm going to add a simple text response. So what the agent response does is when this workflow is called, it's simply going to send a message to the screen. Here is the vacation policy. Next, I want to add a link. So I'm going to grab a link from the vacation policy in my demo tenant. Again, this could be from SharePoint or some other source. I simply paste that link in here, and then I put some link text in. If you remember in the MS Teams video I was showing, sometimes there's a button that pops up. Well, this is the button text that you're going to see in things like MS Teams or the mobile version or Slack or so on. With the Dovetail portal and SharePoint, we can actually force redirect. So it doesn't even need that text. But so I click the redirect button, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in a moment. Everything's under version control. So I've created a version, I've published that version, and now all I need to do is link it to that workflow. I simply scroll down to the bottom here. You'll see the workflow you need to add it to. Sorry, you'll see the intent you need to add it to because the workflow has that red glow around it. I simply select the workflow here. I search for it, vacation policy, and then I update the intent. And the intents are all within version control as well. So you now have to build the new version. And when you're building it, what you're basically saying to Copilot is, can you learn this new intent that I've just created? And can you learn the workflow that's connected to it? Once it's built, you're then able to publish it. And then I'm going to head over to the playground and test this. And this is showing now on the left side all the different intents that I already had pre-built. And here's that new one. What is the vacation policy? And you can see all the phrases there. So I'm just going to type in something like I'm looking for the vacation policy. And this will allow you to see what the result would be if someone was using Teams or using the Copilot system on the employee portal or SharePoint. And it also highlights the intent that it picked, and it even put confidence high. It's pretty much sure it's a match. So let's go see what that looks like in the Dovetail portal. So I've opened up Copilot. And in the Dovetail portal, the Copilot widget that popped up, you can change the look and feel, you can rename it, you can call it whatever you like, and all of the fonts, the colors, the styles. Same if you want to embed this into SharePoint as well. It looks the same. It just opens up like that. So now I'm asking, where's the vacation policy? Because we're on a web browser, it can do that redirect. So it automatically redirected me over to this policy. Now, just think about the amount of times people ask you for these sorts of things in HR. Where do I find this? Where's the pay slip? Where do I get this from? If you can create these intents very quickly, you stop that incoming number of cases coming into HR, those questions. People can self-serve, and also they'll prefer that because they've got their answer much faster. I'm going to just show you what that looks like in the desktop version of MS Teams now. So I've asked the same question, where is the vacation policy? And that's where that link text is very important because it pops up there and I can click and I can go straight over to the site. Now, the key thing to remember here is I'm showing you, I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to just mention quickly that in summary, what we did is we created an intent. We didn't have to add all those key phrases. We created a workflow, very simple, just added one node that was a redirection. We then linked that workflow to that intent that we created after building the version. And then once we created the intent version, we then tested it in the playground, and then we tested it in Dovetail, and then we had a little sort of play in the MS Teams version as well. Here's the MS Teams version on mobile. And what I was trying to say earlier, the important factor here is I've created one workflow, one intent, and it's distributed across those three channels: the MS Teams desktop, the MS Teams mobile, and also the Dovetail employee portal. Again, if you had SharePoint, the same thing. You're not having to create the same thing several times. You're only having to create it once and publish it, and it's out there. And you can see here the experience of what it would look like for an individual using the mobile version. Okay. Second, now we're going to go in and create something very similar, but this time go to a third party. Like, for example, maybe an employee is asking for a friend of theirs. Hey, I've got a friend that's looking for open position. He wants to work for our company. How do where's the link I should send him so he can look at current positions that are open? So I'll quickly create the intent. I'm going to go through this one a bit quicker now because you've seen this already. I'll go in, add a brand new workflow. It's the same node that I'm going to drag across the agent response, link up the nodes to the agent response there, add the text component, and then I'll add the link component. And in this example, I'm just going to grab from the Dovetail corporate website our corporate open positions page. And again, as we're going through this, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the Q&A section, and I'll do my best to answer them as we get to the end. So I've created a version. Now again, I publish it. I'll go in, quickly link that intent up. And these intents and workflows you can create templates of. So if you've got a test bot, you could do all this in test and create a template, and you can then copy that workflow intent over to the production tenant. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You just push a button and it's there. So now I'm building out the intent again. I'm just saving it and letting the system learn what I've just added, and then I'll publish it. Okay, and I'm going to go straight in and give you an example of what that looks like. So, hey, I have a friend that would like to work for us. Where do I, what link do I send him? Where do I direct them? That sort of thing. And in this example, it's going to, I think I clicked on the redirect, so it's going to redirect me over to the corporate website. You see there that the Copilot still is visible, even though I've gone to an external website. And there's a list of our open positions if anyone's looking and wants to apply. Same thing in the MS Teams version. Ask that list of open positions, and you get the link pop up. You can click and go view it. So as it's showing this in the background, it's going to show the mobile session as well. I'll just answer some of the questions that came in. There's one here. Do you integrate with ADP and or 10 Street application tracking system? So as long as that third-party system has REST APIs, we can connect to them. I'm going to show you in a moment how we use Dayforce's REST API to connect. It'll be the same for any other system. We are looking to build connectors, so more sort of out-of-box connectors. If you have any that you're hoping to see or would like to see in the future, put them in a chat as an enhancement or an idea for us, and we'll look at those. Another question here, what happens if you keep those policies, your company's SharePoint on your company's SharePoint site and the policy is updated? Do the responses have to be updated? No. So you'd only need to do that. Well, if it's a link to a page on your SharePoint, then you won't need to update anything. Only if it changed majorly, you might want to add some additional phrases into the intent. If you're doing the large language model, which we'll come on to in a moment, you might want to, if it's synchronizing with SharePoint, it will just re-index that every sort of, you can set the schedule and you'll see that. If you're doing a manual upload to the large language model, again, you'll see that as we get into that section. You just simply have to bring over the new policy. So we'll show you that. Okay, the next one here is looking at something a bit more interesting now, getting data from Dovetail. So Dovetail is connected to Copilot, so we can get to this data a bit easier than, let's say, from Dayforce, where we have to connect with a REST API. So in this example, I want to build an intent that provide someone their medical plan details. And this is very useful when it comes around to open enrollment. Everybody wants to know what is my current plan, because I'm looking at the options and I kind of want to see what my old plan is versus this new plan. And usually it's just the plan name is all they want. So here in Dovetail, I'm showing you we can have custom fields show that data to the HR person. When it's in Dovetail, which is fed from your HR system, we're then able to expose that data into Copilot. You can do the same with third-party systems, but this initial scenario is how you do it with Dovetail data. So first, I'm going to add an intent, something like, what is the medical plan I am on? Again, it really does a great job at auto-generating all the different phrases that someone might ask that question. And it's not just these 15. In the background, there's neural language processing that's going to account for all the other ways someone could ask it based on those sort of 15 ways. So I'm going to create a new workflow, medical plan details. This time, I'm going to scroll down to the Dovetail software connector, and I'm going to drag over the get employee details, because what I need to do is I need to go into Dovetail and grab the employee's data, like the medical plan information. So when I select the operation node here, you'll see I have some different options on the left-hand side, and I've got some automatically stored variables like first name, last name, phone number, things like that. But because this is a custom field and Dovetail customers could have all different types of custom fields, I just need to let Copilot know where that custom field is. So I have to put in this path. This is about as technical as things get. And once you have that string that we would provide you, it's very easy then to tweak it for all the different custom fields that you have. I'm not a developer, but even I could do that myself. So here I'm connecting an operation now with an agent response. Just think of this as a normal flowchart. So it starts, go get some data from Dovetail, then respond back to the employee or the requester with that data. So when I got the data from Dovetail, I stored it in a variable that you can then reuse in a text response. And all you have to do is hit the hash key and it will open up and show you all the different variables you have access to. So in this example, I've just typed in a bit of text, hey, your medical plan is, and then I just select that variable name that I gave it earlier. And that's it. Create the version, publish the version, connect it to the intent, and then go test it. Simple as that. And once this is shown, I'm going to then add a bit more data, and then we're going to add an SMS one-time password, because maybe someone's sitting at someone's desk asking, what's my medical plan? And you don't want that info being shared. So I show you how you can secure that. So we've added the workflow to the intent. We click build. And we then publish it. And then we head over to Playground and test it. And as you can see here, it comes back with premium plan family. So we can enhance that. I think I'm going to show now different data that's sitting in Dovetail. So Dovetail customers can put whatever custom data they want into the employee profile. But I'm going to add now things like the dental plan, the vision plan, and the last pay monthly amount. And it's very simple. You just go back into that operation and get more data. So you just add more output nodes, basically. So I've already got these stored, so it's easy for me to copy and paste them over. But once you've created, again, that JSON path, once you create it, it's very easy to change the custom field name in there. You don't have to type everything in from scratch. So I've added the medical plan. I'm going to add the vision plan, and then I'm going to add the deduction amount. And at this point, I won't need to, I will need to build a new version. So this allows you then to go back to prior versions, but I won't need to map it to the the intent anymore. That's done. I don't need to keep mapping it once it's in there. If I want to evolve this workflow, this is how I would do it. And I would suggest this is the sort of one of those tips or best practices. Create the initial workflow, get one bit of data coming out. Once that's working, then start incrementing it, tweaking it. Don't go in creating a big workflow with everything on it, sort of do it bit by bit. And then here, I'm simply going back over to the agent response and updating that and basically putting in whatever text you want, basically. And, here's the dental plan, here's the vision plan. Very easy for me to go scroll down, select these. And then also, what is the amount? I had a question here, another question come in. So how do intents work with portal filters? So this is from one of our customers. Portal filters in the portal allow you to segregate the data. So an employee from France sees different content than maybe an employee from America. And yeah, so that is built into it as well, Michael. The index, when you search on that content, it comes back based on what you have access to. So here now I've updated the operation with those extra fields. I then added it into the agent response. I've now published it. I'm going to go test it. And you can now see you've got that much richer content coming out. So here's your vision plan, your dental plan, your medical plan. This was the payment you last paid us. Again, what are the questions you're getting asked from your employee or your workforce? What could you self-serve them? They could go find it themselves. Then they're not having to come to you with this question and it's taking 10, 15, 20 minutes, or maybe it's a few days before they get a response. They're getting answers in seconds. It's a massive difference. And here's what it looks like from the Copilot system in Dovetail. Again, that will be the same look and feel that if it was in SharePoint. You can change all the colors and branding, but it's going to sort of appear as a box like that. You can actually change the size of that box as well if you want. And again, just to show you, there's no additional steps needed to publish it to your Copilot system on Teams, whether it's desktop or mobile. It's the same. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, I don't want someone going to my desktop asking what's the medical plan I'm on, and it just giving them that answer, because this is all based on the logged in person. If you're logged into SharePoint, if you're logged into your desktop, if you're logged into Teams, it knows who you are. So it's giving you data, it's assuming who you are. Now you can protect all this with things like one-time passwords, or you could ask it to verify, what's the last 4 digits of social or something like that. So I'm actually going to go in now and tweak this. So rather than just giving me straight away my medical plan, I'm going to add a new step. I'm going to add a sort of verification step. And so all I need to do, again, go back over to my workflow and then pop down and add the verify number node. Just drag it on, and then I just need to connect the nodes. And I can scroll down on the operation, the verify number operation, and just say that particular one, the operation conditional routing, which is if they got it right, I want it to go to a certain location. So if they get the verification correct, then it will provide the response. If they get the verification wrong, it's just going to end. Okay. And you've probably all seen this. You've logged into your bank online, like Bank of America or whatever the bank is, and it's asking you for a one-time password to put in. It's the same thing. Look at how simple it was to add it. I literally just needed to put the operation on there. And all I need to do now is just say what the customer number is. Your customers are your employees. So this is one you don't have to go get. It's already there. The primary phone number from Dovetail is already there. If you're not connecting it to Dovetail, then you've got to go look that up with another REST API. So fundamentally, all I had to do was grab Logan's primary phone number, and I'm just going to now ask it. I've published it and ready to test it. So now what's my medical plan? And instead of it giving me that information, it's now saying, hey, you're going to receive a text. So Logan has my office phone number, so it's popped up here. Here's the number that Logan needs to enter. And I couldn't remember was it 7-digit number? I had to check again. So now I've put in the correct number. It's giving me the response. You could add in text like, hey, you got the number correct. Here's your response. So if I get the number wrong, it's not actually going to say anything. It's just going to end. So I'm going to update the workflow and just add in another node. So if they get the response wrong, it's going to say, hey, you've entered an incorrect number. The purpose of what I'm showing you here is everything's customizable. You don't have to go out of box of everything we've got. You can tweak the message to your branding, your style. You're not having to use something that we've expected you to use, for example. So again, super simple. Just added that step. Hey, you've entered the wrong code, published it, built it, came back over here, now put in a fake number, and there's that text pop up. So very easy way to get, again, a quite impactful workflow that's easy to publish, easy to send out. What I'll do is I'll just show the first part of this, then we'll move to the next scenario, because I think you all get the gist of what it looks like on MS Teams and mobile. But the same experience there. I've got that code coming in, I'll enter it in and hit enter, and now it's going to give me the medical plan details. Okay, moving on to the next one. So the next one is SMS again, but this time I want to do the one, if you recall in that orientation at the very beginning, I showed you an example of a new employee saying, hey, I'm trying to get hold of my manager, not sure of the number. So how did that actually get created? Again, pretty simple, create that intent. How do I contact my manager? And then I go add a brand new workflow. So none of what we've looked at so far is all AI intent and integration and workflows. None of these are generative AI. We're going to go into generative AI shortly, but we just wanted to sort of show you the power of the AI intents, how sort of quickly it is to create these workflows. And they're very basic workflows. You can go very in-depth with these workflows, but these are nice, simple workflows. So first thing here is I want to go in and get some details about the manager. So I've dragged on the Dovetail Get Employee node. I need to get the manager email, I need to get the manager phone number, and the manager name. And these are custom fields in Dovetail. So again, I've got to do the same process. I've just got to basically collect that information first before I then use it in my agent response. And with Dovetail customers, again, if you don't have the data in Dovetail today, where I showed that I had the medical plan data, all of that data on that screen, you can change whenever you like. You can always add additional custom data to Dovetail. As soon as you add it into Dovetail, which is typically a nightly feed, you can then see it the very next day. If you're using our API to insert data into Dovetail, you could insert it immediately and play with it straight away as well. If you're doing that in your test system, that's what I'd encourage you to do. So after I added those three components, I'm then over to the agent response, and now I'm building out that message that I want it to say. And the system already knows who's logged in. So it's saying, hey, this is going to say, hey, Logan, your manager is, and then put in the manager's name and their email address is, and their phone number is. And so sort of add a bit of polish, we can basically also say, would you like us to text the manager for you? So that will be a bit more in depth, because we're going to add a yes no fork onto this as well in a moment. Got a question here. Is HR Copilot remembering previous answers and self-learning somehow? Yes. Also, I want to point out HR Copilot is all within AWS infrastructure. So it's not going out to OpenAI. Whatever your employees and workforce are asking you questions about, it's housed in our infrastructure in AWS, whether it's in the US region or the EU region. And it is saving that and learning from it as well. You can do, I've got an example towards the end where it's actually you're asking it a question and following up questions and giving you more insight. So now what I want to do is offer that sort of polish to the end, like, hey, here's your manager contact info. Would you like me to text them on your behalf? Great sort of experience. It really sort of engages the employees. So I've added a fork. So I've added a yes, no button. And if they say yes, I'm going to send an SMS. If they say no, I'm simply going to end. And all I need to do now is construct the text message that I want to send. So this is going to the manager. So I'm going to say, hi, Steve, one of your employees is trying to contact you. Please, can you reach out? Great for if you've got employees in the field. So not everybody's going to be connected to email. Not everybody's going to be connected to your intranet or websites. Maybe they're manual workforce drivers working in factories. Pretty much everybody has a mobile phone. If you've got that mobile phone number in your HR system, it will be in the Dovetail system. If it's in the Dovetail system, it's now available in Copilot. So very easy to send that communication out. And the beauty is you get a record of everything that happens. It's going to create a case. It's going to close that case automatically because it's solved, and you're going to be able to report on the metrics. So created the version, published the version, coming over to Copilot to test it out now. Sorry, to Playground to test it. Just wanted to point out that I'd already sort of mapped it out. So here, trying to contact my manager. Even with my spelling mistake there, it doesn't matter, it picks it up. So, hey, Logan, this is your manager. This is their email. This is their cell number. Do you want me to send them a test message, a text message, that should say? And there's the text message coming through. Logan's manager also has my phone number. So that's how I can show these sort of text messages coming through in real time like that. And again, what does that look like on the Copilot system in the Dovetail portal, or whether this is SharePoint, for example? And it looks just like this, and I hit yes. Now, one thing you could do is when they hit yes, you could then have a message saying, we have sent the following message to your manager. Is there anything else you need help with? Just so they've got a bit of confirmation that the message did get sent. Same in Teams as well here. Okay, I'm going to head over to the next scenario now, which is the how to connect to a third-party system. So how do I get data from outside of Dovetail? If you're not a Dovetail customer, but maybe you use one of our competitors, or maybe use an IT help desk in your HR service delivery, and you like the look of what I'm showing, you want to utilize this. Well, you can stick this in front. You could stick it, and it could become the sort of main place where your employees, managers go to first before they raise a ticket, before they start reading all the policy pages. So you can stick it in front, and it can interact with third-party data. In this example, I've already created the intent for getting the Dayforce balance, and I've already created the workflow. So there's just 3 nodes. Get some data from Dovetail. It doesn't have to be Dovetail, as I say. This could be getting it from a third-party system. So what I'm getting from Dovetail is the unique identifier from the Dayforce system. Dayforce call it XREF code. So I've created a custom field in my Dovetail tenant against employees and just stored their XREF code in there. So what I'm going to do is go grab that XREF code, but I could get that from Dayforce directly. I could get it from a lookup. You could get it. You could ask them for their employee ID, for example. They could enter it, and it could go do that. Could do the one-time password to verify they're speaking to the right individual. And then I've got this node, the REST API node. So this is similar to that question at the beginning about, does it integrate with ADP and so on? It can integrate with any third-party system that supports REST APIs. In this particular example, I'm using a get method. So I'm going over to the Dovetail, to the Dayforce system and asking to get the employee balance period information. And I'm passing the XREF code that I got from Logan's profile in Dovetail. Again, that XREF code doesn't have to come from Dovetail. Once I've got that, I'm going to store the value in a node that I've called current accrued value. And because there's 4 different sets of data that's going to come back from this, I only want the vacation current accrued value. I don't want all the other. So you can have different types of balances, right? Vacation is the one I'm interested in. How many hours are remaining for this individual? So now that I've done that, I'm going to go to Playground. I'm going to type in what's my vacation allowance. And you'll see here, it comes up with that text, and it shows on the left that it selected it, thought it was a medium sort of hit rate. And you can adjust the percentage of when you want it to, what's medium, what's high, and so on. And then again, just going to ask in Copilot here. So what it's actually doing now is it's going to Copilot. Copilot's going to Dovetail to get the XREF code. Then it's going to Dayforce to get the balance data, and then it's presenting it on the screen. Again, not a difficult, once you've done it once, it's not a difficult thing to set up. Very sort of easy to create these workflows, very powerful from an end point of view. The employee can find this answer very quickly. You might say, well, why don't they just go into Dayforce or Workday or SAP and find this info themselves? And they could, that's great. But often employees don't know where that data is. They don't always log into those systems, but they can ask that question. And that's the beauty of a conversational UI like this. You can ask the question in natural language, English, and it's going to, or your foreign language, and it's going to give you the answers. Another thing that all vendors do, Dovetail as well, every now and then we change the UI, we change the look and feel of things, we move things around. So I may be an employee that knows where vacation allowance is today. Maybe in 6 months' time, when I go to check again in Dayforce, Workday, or SAP, etc., everything's moved around. I can't find it. It's frustrating me. So what do? I phone HR. If I have something like this, I can go find that answer. I don't need to reach out, and I've got that sort of instant answer like that. Okay, now we're moving to large language models. I've got a brand new workspace. So depending on the plan you buy with us for Dovetail Copilot, you can get unlimited workspaces. So you might have a workspace for test, for production. You might have a foreign workspace. Maybe you've got a company with lots of business entities and you want to train one bot just on one of those entities. Maybe it's a very particular, maybe it's a defense company, or maybe it's a legal side, and you just want to train that bot on a very specific nomenclature. So you create a workspace for that. I've gone into the LLM source, so large language model source. These are the ones available today. Across the top there, you have the upload, then you have the Dovetail knowledge base, then you can connect to SharePoint, then you can scrape sites as well, public facing sites. And then we've got some more coming shortly. So I'm going to show you how you can just simply drag and drop an employee handbook PDF file, could be a HTML file, could be a spreadsheet, could be any format like that, into the Copilot. It's going to index it, and you're then going to be able to ask it questions about that. So I'm going to create something called a collection. But for me to generate a handbook, I've used the Mineral platform that you get with Dovetail as a customer. So this Mineral platform gives you all things like handbooks, legal advice. It's a great tool for HR, and it comes with a Dovetail subscription. So I simply used it to generate a 5,000 employee handbook for California. And I'm going to add that now. First, I'm just going to actually show you what that handbook looks like, just because you might be wondering, well, how big is it? Is it 5 pages or 500 pages? So here it is here. A lot of content in here. This isn't something I built. I just went into Mineral, click generate, and hit download, and I've got a 55-page handbook. You can tweak this in the Mineral system as well and adjust it for you, put your own nomenclature in. But you can see it's a very large, lengthy handbook. Employees are not reading your handbooks. It's too long. I've never read a handbook in my life. Maybe I sometimes go there and sort of skim through and try and find it, get frustrated, then I phone HR. So all I did here was dragged it over. You can see the Dovetail California PDF there. It's now indexing that. And this is real time. This one is not sped up. I have sped up the other two I'm going to show you because they're indexing almost 1,000 pages. This one's just doing one PDF with 55 pages. So that's how quick it was. I then published it, and now I can go straight to Playground. You can see there's no intents here whatsoever on the left side. Those are the default intents. So now I'm just going to say, tell me about one of the policies, the holiday policy. And this is what generative AI is. It's gone into that big 55-page document. It's pulled out a small snippet and regenerated some content into a much smaller piece for me to consume. I am going to read that. I am not going to scroll through this large document looking for that, reading 10 pages or 2 pages of trying to figure out what this policy is. Here, I could say something like, please explain the jury duty leave policy. And we actually have an example where later on, I'm actually going to ask it to explain it to me as if I was a 5-year-old. So it can then break it down and make it easier. And that is generative AI. It's taking some content, you're asking it a question about that content, and it's providing you an answer based on that content. It's generating that through artificial intelligence. The very important thing, any sort of Copilot system you're looking at, you've got to make sure it's the boundaries are set within the infrastructure. So you put this content into Copilot, it's in our infrastructure. The Copilot logic is in our infrastructure. It's not going out to OpenAI. Your data is not outside of the Dovetail infrastructure. So that's a key point. You've got to be careful where you're asking questions and that data is going out to public sources. Now, your employees could be typing anything into a chat interface, so you wouldn't want them typing in something that's sensitive, that's going outside of what you've already deemed as appropriate security. So typically, if you buy from a vendor like Dovetail, you're going to verify us, your IT people are going to check our security credentials, and so on. Whereas if you give your employees access to a system that's connected to the outside internet, you don't know where that data is going. You have no control on it. So here, I'm just going to sort of show you what that looks like. I don't have, because that was a new workspace, my MS Teams Copilot is not connected to it. So I'm going to show you one generative AI piece I have in my tenant. So what's the parental leave policy? So that's an example of a short snippet from a policy that I have on my existing system. And I can click on the source icon there and go to the actual policy. Again, you can see it's quite a lengthy policy. If I'm on a mobile phone, I'm probably not going to read all of this. It's just too much info. So having it there where it's just giving you that bit of information, a lot easier for me to consume. Okay, now we're going to move into one that is web scraping. So basically, rather than uploading a file, let's say you have a corporate website. I'm going to use the Dovetail corporate website, and I'm going to ask Copilot to index the whole website. And all I have to do is put the URL in. First I'm going to create the collection. These are the groupings. So you can create more than one collection. Maybe you want to index, maybe you're a large company, lots of global offices, lots of different sites. So you can index all of those or be selective. You could group those into collections. So I'm going to just create one called the Dovetail website. I'm going to click on start indexing. I did increase this. I think it was about 30 minutes it took to index. And then once I indexed, I have to hit publish. And I think that took about 4 minutes. So again, I sped this up dramatically. And it's indexed 956 documents on our website. It's taken all the blog, all our support pages, some of our public support pages, and so on. Now I can go straight over to the playground and actually ask it some questions. And in this example, because it's indexed the Dovetail website, I can ask it questions, obviously, about the Dovetail system. Again, any questions you have, just feel free to add them in and I'll do my best to answer as we go through. So simply tell me about Dovetail software. And if you're a prospect to Dovetail or you're interested in being a prospect, we can run this scrape against your company website and let you sort of play with this and just see what sort of things come back. It's quite interesting. It's quite powerful, especially if your website is very large. Very good tool to just inquire and ask things like this. As you can see there, you can ask it questions like that, and it would take you over to the source where it found that information. And actually, what you're seeing on the left side there was it was actually finding 2 answers from 2 different pages, and it generated an answer from 2 different pages. What you can also do is refine it. So a bit like where you can add a phrase to the intent, you can add phrases to articles or pages that you load or scrape. So you can refine it to make it a bit better. You can also see on the left-hand side the schedule. It's not enabled, but this allows you to routinely index. So you could set a frequency. So maybe you want it to index once a night, once a week. If it's a corporate website, maybe it's once a week, once a night, but you get to schedule that there. Here, we're going to go into the last one here, which is connecting it to the Dovetail knowledge base. So again, this is the same tenant. It's now got the PDF source. It's now got this website scrape, and I just turned it on to connect to the Dovetail knowledge base, and I click start indexing. Again, I sped this one up. It only had to index about 29 documents, so that was a bit faster. And then I publish it. And these are all the knowledge base articles and knowledge base content that I've created in Dovetail that is public and published. And then I simply publish it. And then I'm able to go in and again ask a question. Something like expense rules for Norway, and you can see it's pulled out that answer. Again, it's not giving me the full article. I can click and go see that full article. I'm not having to read everything. It's just pulled out that smaller piece. Also, if there's any attachments on any knowledge articles in Dovetail, they will also be indexed as well. Here's an example of me asking about parental leave policy. And again, you can see on the left, that one's being pulled out of the California handbook. I think I list one more. And this is really, as you saw earlier, there's only 29 articles here, but it didn't take long to quickly connect a PDF, the Dovetail knowledge base, and a website scraper, and you've got that content in. You haven't had to create any workflows. You haven't had to create any intents. And now I'm just going to ask it, can you provide me a list of our HR policies? So this tool not only is useful for employees, maybe managers, but also your HR teams, because they can ask it questions and the system can recognize that they should get maybe richer answers. You can see on the left-hand side, the large language model response comes from several sources. So our website, the solution pages, and the PDF. So it's getting it from all 3 areas, combining it into this one answer here. Okay, we're almost at the end. I know this has been a lengthy webinar, but it was built and designed to really kind of give you an intro into the configuration of the Copilot system. So here's a sort of example of following up questions. So please, can you explain the parental leave policy? Now I'm going to say, treat me like a 5-year-old. Explain it to me as if I'm a 5-year-old, the parental leave policy. Now look at it. Hey, imagine you have a new baby brother or sister at home, your mom or dad, and so on. So it's taken the policy, it's generated it initially into that sort of standard language. Now I've said, treat me like a 5-year-old, and it's done that. It's given me something that's much easier to explain. That's a neat trick or a tip. If you use ChatGPT, if you're getting answers and you're not quite sure what they're saying, just say, explain this to me as if I were a 5-year-old, and it will print it out in a much easier to read format. And then I followed up with another question, based on the fact that I only started working here since 1st of Jan, am I eligible? And it said, based on the information you've just said, no, you've got to work here for 12 months because that's what the policy says. There's nothing in the policy that says if you started here, less than 5 months ago. It just simply says you have to work here for at least 12 months to be eligible. And so the GenAI can also compute that and find these answers and produce them in real time like that. Again, saving HR valuable time when those questions come in. So now let's just head over to the last bit here. What does it look like when a case is created? So I've just got 3 examples just to quickly show you. So this one is when someone asks, what's my vacation allowance? You can see the chat transcript there. So you can see Copilot had a welcome message. You can see Logan's first question, and then you can see that real-time, that reply with the real-time balance from Dayforce. The case was created, it was resolved automatically, and it's got a resolution of closed by AI bot. You can tailor all the terminology. You can see it's owned by the case type. You can see it was a medium priority. You can see the SLA was done because it was solved within 10 seconds. So one question solved, easy and simple. This one here is the question about, what's my medical plan, and bit more of text here, but this one had the one-time password. So you've got that full content. Everything's being saved. You can see exactly how that employee was answered. So if Logan was to call in and say, hey, I spoke to the chatbot earlier, they told me this, I have a question about that, you can see exactly what that conversation was. You don't have to go look for that. You don't have to just believe what they've said. You can actually see it. And then finally, how do I reach my manager? Again, you've got that full content here. Now, if you're not a Dovetail HR case management customer, and we'd love you to be a Dovetail HR case management customer as well, but let's say you're using one of our competitors, or you're using a third-party system, or IT help desk, or maybe you're using SharePoint or a spreadsheet right now, you can still use Copilot in front. If you're using a case management tool today, we could create cases in that for you. So you could still have that same experience, what I'm showing here now. Doesn't just have to be, you don't have to buy the whole bundle. We can integrate and connect. And then what does it look like from an employee point of view? So I'm going to look at those 3 cases. So here's what it looks like. I can see it was created. I can see the conversation. I can see when it happened, how quickly it was solved. And I can reopen it. Maybe there's a problem with it and I want to ask a follow-up question. You can also go into, I haven't got a demo of it, but you can go to Copilot and say, hey, I have a question about an existing case, and it could add a note to that existing case once you've given it the case ID. Okay, I'm just going to quickly look at some questions I haven't answered yet. Can you add a timeout for specific responses? So for example, if someone wanted to see a pension plan, could it sort of disappear? That's a great question. I don't think we have that today, but I do like that as an idea. So I will pass that to our product management team and see if that's something that could be added. Implementation timeline. So a lot of the implementation of all of our products really are determined based on the scope. So if we want to just go and add Copilot and add some basic things in like we've shown today, it's a minimal timeline. We'd need to have a conversation really to understand what you're looking to do, but it's a couple of weeks to several weeks depending on how deep you want to go with Copilot. Okay. Patty, you asked a question about being interrupted during the session. I don't know what the question was actually. So if you want to ask it again, if you're still on, I can answer it. And a question here, does Copilot function well with languages other than English? Yes. So you can ask questions in a foreign language and it can reply. If you've only set it up to reply in English, foreign languages can come in, they can ask, you can enter in foreign language, ask a question, and it will reply in English. You can also add in language translation as well. We have a richer language model coming later this year, but today it will accept answers in foreign language and answer sometimes in foreign, sometimes it will generate the response in English. If it's large language model, often it generates it from what you have. If you use the intents, you can obviously tailor it to your language. In Dovetail, because you can set the chatbot that comes up, the Copilot mode that comes up in Dovetail, you can decide which one comes up. So if you tell us the culture of someone, or they select at the top their language preference, we can then make sure the German language version shows up, for example. You can do that as well. Oh, so Patty, yeah. Do you integrate with ADP? Yes, I did answer that. Fundamentally, yes. This will be This has been recorded. You will all get the recording, so you can go back and watch that. And there's a section that I showed Patty where I showed Dayforce being integrated with Copilot. It would be the same for ADP or any third-party system. So you just need to check with your vendor if they have REST APIs. And actually, you can self-serve. If you just type in ADP REST APIs in Google, you'll probably find the public APIs that they have there. Same for 10th Street as well. Okay, let me head back and start to close us out. So what I wanted to mention first as well is we did do a case study webinar back in February. We'll send you out the recording of that as well. It's with a customer of ours called Danone, and Crystal walks you through the whole process of transforming the HR operations at Danone with the Dovetail system. If there's any other Q&As that are coming in late, let's have a look. How would Copilot work alongside live chat? Can they both be on? Yes, great question. So I'm sorry I didn't add it into the demo today. It was one that I'd missed out, but you can, and it's seamless. So you can ask a question in Copilot. You could have an angry person who's saying, I'm getting angry, I'm annoyed, why is this not working? And you would have an intent that spots that sort of language. Someone that's angry, someone that just says, hey, I want to speak to a live person. You could also always follow up every answer with, would you like to speak to a live person? I wouldn't suggest that, because you don't want them speaking to live if they can self-serve. You don't want to make it easy for them in some ways. You want to make the Copilot really great so that it answers all your questions. But if they get frustrated, it can spot that, and you could have a button that says, would you like to speak to someone live, or would you like us to call you back? If they select live, then it will transfer them to a live chat agent through the Dovetail live chat system, and it's the same UI. It doesn't change. If you want to if they say, hey, I'd like to have someone call me back, it would simply create a case, and it will put that case in the right queue in Dovetail or your own case management system and get someone to call them back. So yes, you can use live chat. It's all incorporated as well. Okay, we're at time, so I'm really pleased that many of you managed to stay around for that whole session. As I mentioned, you will get a recording of this. We will have our next webinar coming up in 4 weeks' time. So we will see you on Thursday, 27th of June, 11 a.m. Eastern, and you'll get an invite for that, and we'll also send out this recording as well. So all that's left to say is, again, thank you for joining, and have a great workday.